So many veterans are failing to understand who actually denied their VA claim. Was it the VA rater or was it the VA third-party examiner? In today's video, I am going to share with you some examples of when it was the VA rater and when it was the VA third-party examiner. Also, I am going to explain why it's important to understand who actually denied the claim. And I'm going to give you a bonus. Okay, everyone, welcome back. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for that Kimball, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. Before we get into today's video, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. So, who actually denied your claim? The VA rater? Or was it the VA third-party examiner? Why is it important to understand which one of these individuals denied your claim? And I'm going to give you a bonus at the end of this video. So let's go ahead and get into it. Slide number one. Here in slide number one, this is an example of when the VA examiner denied your claim. Now, you're going to see this in the narrative section of the rating decision, all right? So it's not in the notification letter, it's in the rating decision. And it's only one paragraph, but in your actual rating decision, it's going to be a little bit more information, but I just dialed it in to help you understand, okay? So it states, the medical opinion we received from the VA examiner was more persuasive, and I got that word persuasive highlighted because I'm going to explain it, than your private physician's opinion, because it was based on a thorough review of your relevant military and/or personal history and contained a more convincing rationale per what? 38 CFR 4.6. Okay, persuasive. That is a word raters use when you submit evidence to include what? A DBQ and nexus statement to deny your claim. Meaning, even though your DBQ and nexus statement could be good to go, we don't want to use it because we want to deny your claim. So we're going to use this colorful word called persuasive. Now, here is a nugget, the rationale. I'm going to do a training later on this month where I'm going to be explaining what goes into a rationale, okay? But the nugget is, this is what you can put in your nexus statement, okay? Your private doctor can say they completed a thorough review of your relevant military and personal history, okay? That could be part of the nexus statement because what they're saying, hey, we did exactly what the VA examiner would do. Why is this important? Because if that VA rater rejects your DBQ, okay, and your private examiner puts this in the nexus statement, this will help you fight on a high level review, okay? Let's keep going. Slide number two. Taking you back to the M21-1. Now, this is an example and it talks about effective date. We're not so concerned about the effective date. I want to explain that key word, persuasive, okay? So let's go through this example. VA issues a rating decision and corresponding decision notice on September 17, 2017, denying SC, service connection, for right knee syndrome, PFS, a VA examination and medical opinion obtained in connection with the claim determined that the probability of a relationship between the right knee, PFS, and military service was less likely than not. So what they're saying is the VA examination, the VA third-party examiner, okay, said no. Less means no, least means yes, okay? On March 1st, 2019, the veteran submits a supplemental claim accompanied by a private medical opinion that favorably relates the right knee, PFS, to the in-service treatment for similar symptoms. Now, this says a lot, okay? But I'm helping you understand it. So the veteran, 2017, submits a claim, goes to the VA exam. The VA examiner says no. The veteran comes back in and says, you know what? I'm going to go out and get my own information. I'm going to have my private doctor do a thorough review of the medical history to include in-service and personal medical history and provide their own opinion. That's what we saw in the latest slide, okay? So what you're doing, what this veteran did is, and what you're going to do hopefully, is use the VA's regulations in your favor, okay? Then it goes on to say, the rationale of the private medical opinion is deemed more persuasive than that of the original VA examination and opinion. There it is, people. That is the elephant in the room. This is how you use the VA regulations and references in your favor. This is there. You know what? This is in the veterans. I'm sorry, in the VA's on the VA's website. They're giving it to you. You just have to go out and find it. But guess what? I've already did the heavy lifting for you, and I went out and found it. All right. Now let's keep going. Oh, before we move forward, let's talk about the effective date. The effective date is March 1st, 2019. It's not 2017 because why? The veteran waited more than 1 year to submit that supplemental claim, because I know someone was going to ask me that. Let's keep going. Slide number 3. Another M21-1. Questions to ask when weighing evidence. They're talking about the rater. And this could include the decision review officer when you are doing a high-level review, okay? So it says below are example of questions, examples. There could be more questions. Did the evidence originate in service or in close proximity to service? In service, that means you're on active duty. Close proximity to service, in my opinion, I'm thinking they're talking about 1 year presumptive, okay? Meaning once you separate it from service, you have 1 year, and if you're diagnosed with certain conditions, you can claim it under the 1 year presumptive, 38 CFR 3.309 subpart A. Is the medical opinion supported by clinical data and review of medical records? Now, there is another M21-1 manual reference that states that third-party examiners are not held to the same standards or scrutiny of reviewing evidence or VA claims file as third-party examiners. But a lot of VA employees do not know that. So if you're having a private examiner, your private examiner, to complete a DBQ and nexus statement for you, have them review your records, okay? Just be proactive. Have them to do it, okay? But I want to point something out. Clinical data. That will go in your rationale, okay? Court cases, any medical studies, all right? Medical literature. That's how you build a strong rationale to make it what? Persuasive. Bullet comment number 3. How detailed, clear, or persuasive is the opinion? The opinion is the opinion. Least as likely as not, okay? That means a positive opinion. The rationale is where the doctor gets persuasive, okay? So if you have a doctor that's, 25 years experience as a specialist, okay, as a specialist, and they can provide data to include medical literature, medical studies, all right? Reviewing of your private medical history, your in-service medical history, a specialist. And then the VA says, well, since you don't want to go to the exam, we're going to have a nurse practitioner to review this information. Guess who's more persuasive? The specialist, as long as that rationale includes what we're talking about today, all right? And I'm going to give that class to help you understand further that rationale, okay? Let's keep going. Is the opinion based on personal knowledge or on history provided by another person. Okay, it can be both. If I was going through this process again, I would make sure it is both, meaning personal knowledge, that doctor knows you. Okay, I did a video back in December where I talked about, hey, building that paper trail. Just don't go to an examiner and do one and done. For a DBQ years ago, yes, you could do that. Now you got to build that paper trail, 3, 4, 5 visits. Okay, now at the bottom, the VA just gave you some VA claim nuggets to put in your nexus. Those 4 bullet comments. Okay, that's when your examiner is going to have to explain in detail these 4 bullet comments in the rationale in your nexus statement. So the VA is giving you this information, but they're not breaking it down for you. That's why you got me, okay? Let's keep going. Slide number 4. Here in slide number 4, another example of when the VA examiner denied you. We received your medical evidence, which discusses the symptoms of your medical condition during your VA examination. When they say that, your VA examination or your VA examiner, the examiner said no. The examiner opined your back condition is less likely than not related to service. The claim condition was less likely than not approximately due to service. It's not the rater. The rater's giving you the bad information, obviously, but it was the examiner that said no. All right, so when you go into these exams, don't think that these third-party examiners are your friend. When they start talking about, hey, thank you for your service, that's the okie doke. Don't fall for it. Let's keep going. Slide number 5, okay? This is when the VA rater denied you, okay? A direct grant of service connection requires 1, medical evidence of a current disability. 2, evidence of the occurrence or aggravation of a disease or injury in active military service, and medical evidence of a nexus link between the current disability and the in-service disease or injury. Let me explain. A direct grant, meaning direct service connection. It's one of the 5 ways of service connection. You need a diagnosis, an event in service, and a nexus, okay? So the current diagnosis and the nexus link, which you see here in number 3, that explains that, hey, wait a minute, that link in service in this current diagnosis is related to service, okay? The link, say it again, the link in service, the treatment that you receive in the current diagnosis, the nexus is connecting the 2, okay? It's very important that you understand that. Now, here's the bonus. But before I get to that bonus, why is this important to understand? If you're denied, more than likely, if you feel, hey, I warrant service connection, you're going to do a supplemental claim. So you want to know exactly who did it. Was it the rater or was it the third-party examiner? Because oftentimes when veterans come to me, I ask them, hey, who denied it? Was it the rater or third-party examiner? And they're like, it was the VA. That's not what I asked. I know it was the VA. Which one? Because if it was the third-party examiner, guess what my next question is? Do you have a copy of that CMP exam so you could see not only the medical opinion, but the rationale? Why did that examiner say no? Okay. Also, if you didn't have a CMP exam, the rater said no. All right, the bonus, okay? I've seen examiners say yes and the rater say no. And veterans will say, Dwayne, the examiner gave me a positive opinion, but the rater said no. So as a former VA rater, trained by the VA, here's an example of when I've seen this, okay? So the claim comes in, let's say for a back condition. The VSR fails to review the veteran service treatment records. They just request the exam. It happens, people. VA employees are not perfect. The veteran goes to the exam, they go through it, the exam comes back, it looks good, it's a positive opinion. It lands on the rater's desk. The rater goes through it, meaning they look at the 526EZ, okay? Then they go to the veteran's medical records, and there's no complaint, treatment, diagnosis, injury, or disease of the back. Veteran doesn't even have a parachute badge. Nothing. Guess what? At that point, the rater has to deny the claim. How do I know that? I rated some of those cases, okay? I would have loved to service connect, but according to the VA regulations, even though that examiner said yes, I had to say no because there was no nexus linking the current diagnosis and treatment and service because there was no treatment or diagnosis of complaint and service. Now, here's another example. The examiner said no, okay? The examiner said no, but the rater said yes, okay? So the veteran claimed tinnitus. The veteran wasn't treated in service for tinnitus, but there was a complaint of tinnitus in service. The veteran goes to the CMP exam. The examiner says less likely than not, no. It comes back. The rater makes a decision, says no, and guess what? The rater gets an error. You might say, Dwayne, well, what happened? You know why I know what happened? I was that rater early on. It was like my second or third case ever rating, okay? There's an M21 reference that states, if there is a complaint, treatment, or diagnosis of tinnitus in service, and the examiner says no, the rater can still grant. Now, and this is, one of those standalone times or issues that this will happen, okay? That's why it's important to invest the time to understand this stuff. I know my videos may sound boring, but what I'm showing you and explaining to you is facts. Facts that you can use in your favor and fight back against those VA employees that like to deny veterans' claims. With that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and as always, share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you.